So, I want to clear the air today once and for all. If you're just joining us, welcome to RANT. I'm Angel Diaz. And you have to be a pretty strong man to step outside the spectrum of your world to face the world in reality. To literally do what is unpopular and what is perceived by the tribe as, well, you just don't do that. The Patriot movement will tell you, well, you just don't do that, even if you're right, which clearly is pretty dangerous if you ask me, because that's bordering on fascism in itself. But sometimes you have to do what is unpopular. Sometimes you have to do things that people will hate you for, because you have to be the one that does the right thing. You can't be interested in it for money. You can't take an interest in it for vanity or popularity. You can't worry about your safety. Sometimes you have to do what is just right, even if it means your life. So I've convinced myself that I am willing to take dangerous steps, but I have taken quite a few already. That's why I've been gone for so long. I have been afoot, hanging up posters about Zionism and the Illuminati. I've been spreading the word, but very quietly, in a peaceful way. And then I've been realizing that the government wants us to be fearful, or they want us to be angry. You say, well, the angry part I don't understand. The fearful part I understand. Okay, that I understand. But the angry part, why? Well, because they want us to fire the first shot. They want us to be radicalized. They want this thing to happen, and so they're going to say things on the air that make it happen. And to prove it, I am going to read counterinsurgency documents. I know, it sounds really boring. But in reality, it's not that boring. It is warfare, and it's boring, I guess, in the sense that it's intelligent. It's the graduate level of warfare. Not that I'm proud of it, but I did some reading, and I'm starting to understand that they have figured out the best war to fight is the one for your mind. Sound familiar? Oh, it should. Because I'm going to play today. I can't really take credit for this episode, and yeah, I know. This stuff is out there. You can find it for yourself. So what? Okay, I like what I like, and I'll play it on my radio. And I know it sounds redundant, but you know what? I will have commentary. I will come in and support what Bill Cooper's saying with sources that show more about Alex Jones, but not just Alex Jones. So many more media people in the so-called truth movement. And then you have the real truth movement being demonized or not even existing in some cases, because people are sheep. And because of that, we need to remind people that they are sheep by showing them the folly of being sheep. Just like when Orson Welles made people destroy their own town and shoot their own water tower because they thought it was an alien tripod. Just like in 2000, which we're going to go over, me and Bill Cooper. In 2000, when that famous episode of Alex Jones saying that the Russians are aiming missiles at us and they're going to fire and all this stuff was going to happen. Yeah. Sound familiar? Henry Kissinger said that the illusion is becoming real. And when Brzezinski asked him, what did you mean? He stated, what's in the public mind is becoming a reality. I want you to remember that while we listen to Bill Cooper break this down. And I'm going to go ahead and read, I'll read one portion of the counterinsurgency documents. Okay? And I'm going to explain how this works, okay? So basically, to just give you a kind of introduction, this is a game of wits and will. You've got to be learning and adapting constantly to survive. General Peter J. Shoemaker, USA, 2004. Okay? Now, I don't want to read the whole introduction, but I'm going to read this just to give you kind of a general idea, and then I'll go through the documents of how the intelligence, the designing, and the entire leadership and how it works, and how media is actually put together on a new front for guerrilla warfare tactics. And I don't want to go into too much of the jargon, but I want to get into the exciting stuff. Basically, it says, okay, political power is the central issue in insurgencies and counterinsurgencies. Each side aims to get the people to accept its governance or authority as legitimate. Insurgents use all available tools, political, including diplomatic, informational, including appeals to religious, ethnic, or ideological beliefs, i.e., I don't know, I'm a real American, or, that's not constitutionalist. Oh, you can't say that, Angel Diaz, you don't know what you're talking about. Okay, so let me read on. Military, and economic, to overthrow the existing authority. This authority may be an established government or interim governing body. Counterinsurgents, in turn, use all instruments of national power to sustain the established of emerging government and reduce the likelihood of another crisis emerging. But in the case of COINTELPRO, which is even more, I should get those documents and start reading those. But what's even more fascinating about COINTELPRO is that its whole basis is on invading and infiltrating. So once it infiltrates, it mimics or does the same thing. Hence the name Project Mockingbird, which I'm going to go more over a little bit later because I want Bill Cooper to introduce this subject more and more, because he's more of the expert on it. I'm barely, baby on all of this. I'm barely understanding any of it, really. And it's kind of freaky, actually. I just think that that we're not in Kansas anymore, folks. That we're basically, you have nothing to fear but fear itself. I mean, John F. Kennedy was right. Fear is what government wants from you, and it's what Alex delivers. It's what Alan Watt delivers. It's what David Icke delivers. They all deliver fear because that's exactly what the government wants you to feel. But once you just your regular life and your regular schedule, they can't operate without your acquiescence. If you're a police officer somewhere, you may not think that you have any real authority because you're like, well, I'm just at the bottom of the rungs. I'm just a police officer. But you're a part of the system nonetheless. Just like a janitor somewhere, just like a security officer somewhere, just like a teacher somewhere. You're all a part of the system. So they need you to all acquiesce. If they can't get you to acquiesce to going crazy, basically, then they have no reason to instill martial law or do anything crazy. So don't get crazy, folks. Don't get crazy. Okay? So there's a lot of lessons to be learned here, but I'm going to let Bill Cooper talk about it more. Oh, you know what? Here's a little excerpt from Ron Paul explaining why Alex Jones can get away with telling someone something. You know, basically, quote, exposing them. Why Alex Jones can... By the way, Alex Jones doesn't do his own research, really. Other than going to Bilderberg, he didn't really do anything. He's been getting things from AP, he's been getting things from Reuters, ABC. And what do these news companies do? They also put out news feeds that are fake themselves. So, I call it the AJ factor because it's really clearly a factor of personality. But we'll get more into that. But right now, I just want to kind of play this little clip by Ron Paul explaining why Alex Jones can get away with what he gets away with. Okay? Because he's explaining how this works. Okay? Basically how people can act as revolutionaries. They always wanted a revolution. This wasn't ever about... This isn't a takeover about... it's not a one-sided takeover. This is a multifaceted, polygopi, war-style takeover where it's an endless war. It's an endless war. So they don't want people just acquiescing or acting peaceful. They want people to somewhat resist. It gives them the ability to do what they have to do. This is stake in the heart of the vampires, I'm telling you here, folks. Okay, so let me play this by Ron Paul, and then I'll get Bill Cooper up.
You know, quite a few years ago, when Bill Clinton was inaugurated, it was in one of his speeches, he recognized one single individual as being very important to him philosophically. And that was a bit of surprise because I knew about the individual, and some of you may know about him, but it's worth looking into. And his name was Carroll Quigley. He wrote the book Tragedy and Hope. Now, the important part of Tragedy and Hope and Carroll Quigley is that he claims that he was on the inside and part of the group that, did the planning. But why did he write Tragedy and Hope? To expose these people behind the scenes? Because he believed they were far enough advanced, it didn't have to be secret, they could be out in the open, and this is the way it works. It's a tragedy if you don't accept this, and there's hope if you know who runs the show. That's my interpretation, but I believe it's correct.
So, listen again. Just listen real quick.
He believed they were far enough advanced, it didn't have to be secret, they could be out in the open, and this is the way it works.
That's why. This is the way it works, okay? So, and it's also fear-mongering, because they need people... Well, Alex messed up real bad on Y2k. He got them so afraid they ran for the hills instead of rioting like they were supposed to cause martial law. But here's the thing, they need people to riot. They need people to fire the first shots. That Washington said, if we fire the first shot, we're not going to win the war. They knew that. They knew that. That's why we won against the British Redcoats and we got our independence, because of the fact that we never fired the first shot. In fact, there was a lot of shots fired on us before we started going haywire. Despite what Alex says, it's not about taking the guns, it was about violence. But see, it's only when the government becomes violent, that's when you should... And by that time, the militia will decimate them, because it's not even... The people don't even have to rise up at that point. That's what I'm saying, folks. They're trying to make you think that that's the situation. Where do you think he gets his news from? You have to be very careful. I'm very careful now. And you know what? I'm not gonna, folks. I'm not gonna do what Alex Jones does anymore. Okay, I'm not getting my news from Occupy corporatism or from Prison Planet or from, Prison Planet. Let me tell you.